Hello and welcome back to Excelsior Academy. So in this series, what I'm going to do is I'm taking the previous year question paper and each question, whether it is related to physics, chemistry, maths or bio, each question will be solved with the detailed explanation. Since there are 60 questions and it will be very difficult to take everything in one part, so I have divided the series into 6 parts. So each video will have around 10 questions with explanation. So like that, 6 videos to complete one paper. So today I'm going to do about the IIT JAM 2019 and later we'll do the other PYQs. So let's start. So before we do, first we should know how many questions are there, how many marks it is going to be covering. So it is exam of 3 hours and it is divided into 3 sections. Okay, so A, B, C and all sections are compulsory. Now each question is going to be very difficult and different in all the sections. So let's talk about the first section A. It is having the multiple choice question, okay, and 1 to 30 questions will carry about 50 questions. So how they have divided? So out of 30 questions, 1 to 10 will have 1 marks and 11 to 30 it is going to have 2 marks. So 10, 40, total 50 marks in your section A. Whereas in section B, it is multiple select question. What does it mean? It means that it's not necessary that only one option will be correct. There can be other option also. That is, more than one option can be correct. So you need to select all the correct answers. So here also 31 to 40 questions, it is going to carry 2 marks, so total of 20 marks. Then section C is having 20 numerical type questions. So it means over there you need to solve it actually. Okay, so if the choices are not given, you need to solve it and to the nearest decimal you have to give the answers. So in this question 41 to 60, it is totally having the 30 marks. So initially 10 marks and then again 2 marks question. So total 30 marks. Now all this is there. Now in the first section there is no negative marking. Okay, after that the negative marking is there. If for wrong answers, for 1 mark question they will deduct 1/3. If it is 2 marks question they will deduct 2/3. Okay, now in section C there is no negative marking since you're going to solve it, so there is no negative marking. Okay, so let's start with our 2019 IIT JAM Biotech paper. So the first question is, the glycosidic linkages in cellulose and amylose are respectively. So for this to solve, if you know the structure over here of both cellulose and amylose, it becomes very easy. So let's see the structure first here. So in the case of cellulose, you can see that it is beta. It is going like this, right? If it was like this, we would have said alpha, but if it is going like this, it is beta. So in the case of cellulose, it is beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds. So we have got 2 options. Then we have amylose. Amylose have got the alpha 1,4. So that is your option B. So here your answer is B. Okay, so it becomes very easy if in your mind the structure comes, so it becomes very easily you can solve the questions. So let's move on to the next question. Now, a mutation in the operator locus of lac operon that confers the constitutive expression of beta galactosidose is dash. So in this, you need to know about the lac operon, right? So we know that it has got Z, Y, A, right? So you need to know their arrangement. So we know that promoter is there, operator is there. Now they're saying that if suppose mutation is happening to the operator, okay, so whether it is going to confer the constitutive expression of beta galactosidase, so what kind of expression it is going to show. So for this, let's see the figures. So if you have got the operator having the mutation, so what will happen? It cannot bind the repressor, which is expressed by the I gene. Okay, that is for the repressor. If it is produced and it cannot go and bind, okay, so what will happen? So then the operator, if it is having the mutation, it cannot go and bind. So there will be the expression even when there is no inducer present. Okay, now if suppose it is present, then there won't be any expression. So from this figure we understand that operators are actually cis acting. So here the answer is cis dominant. Now suppose they were asking for the repressor, then the answer would have been trans. If you see this figure, you can see that the repressor whether it is produced from here or here, it can go and bind to the both operators. So it is repressor function is transacting. It can bind to both the sides. Okay. Now next question. This is from maths. So it is already given that. So points are given over here. P, Q, R, and S. So they're saying that these P, Q, R, and S, they lies above the parabola and inside the circle. So for this, you should be very clear how the figure is going to look like. Okay. So let's make the figure first. You need to have the quadrant. Okay. Make a circle and also make a parabola. Okay. Now, this is your parabola. The equation given is y is equal to 2x square, and for the circle it is given as x square plus y square equals to 4. Okay. Now, consider these points P, Q, R, and S. Right. Now, all these points are there. If you put these values into these equations, you will understand whether it is lying inside the circle or above the parabola. Okay. So, for in case of circle, it has to be ranging from -2. Both values of y should be, the x and y value should be more than -2 and it should be less than 2. Then only it is going to fall inside the circle. Now, in the case of parabola, y should be greater than 2x square. Then it is going to fall inside the parabola. Okay. Now, this is important to understand. So for your circle, the x and y value should be more than -2 but less than 2. Now let's see for P value, what is given? 3 by 2 and 1 by 2. So here we know that the x is greater than y. So what does it mean? It is going to lie outside the parabola. Okay. Then we have got the q. What is given? 1 by 2 and 3 by 2. Here your x is less than y. So it is lying inside the parabola. R, the value given is 3 by 2, 11 by 2. Here again, your 11 by 2 is greater than 2. 11 by 2 is greater than 2. So what does it mean? It means then it is outside the circle. Do you agree? As I already said that the x and y value has to be less than 2. But here it is greater than 2. So your y is, sorry, yes. So it is outside the circle. Now what is the last value? S. So S is given as 11 by 2 and 3 by 2. Okay. So 11 by 2 and 3 by 2 it is given, which means again the 11 by 2 is greater than 2, or in other words I can say that x is greater than y. So this is also outside the circle. Correct. Now if you see all these conditions, finally what we got is Q, that is 1 by 2 and 3 by 2 is the correct answer, which is falling inside the parabola, sorry, inside the circle and above the parabola. Okay. I hope this is clear to everyone. Let's move on to the next. Now, again, this comes from the sets and functions chapter. So, for this, let's say that it is given that u is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a set is given. So, how many elements are there? 5 elements are there, right? Now, so number of non-empty subset of u will be how many? So for this, you need to calculate u is equal to 2 raised to n minus 1. So this is how you calculate the number of non-empty subsets. So that is 2 raised to n. What is n over here? It is 5, right? So 2 raised to 5 minus 1 is 32 minus 1, that is 31. So how many are there? 31. So we can see that in all the options, the denominator is 31 only, right? So it means we are going correct. Now, so now we have the non-empty subset of u equals to 31, right? Now, so if we see the question over here, there will be two cases. So if we remove 2 and 4 from the subset, we get 1, 3, 5. That is non-consecutive number, right? So they're asking about the what is the probability that S does not have two consecutive elements. So if we talk about this, then if we remove 2 and 4, okay, if I remove 2 and 4, just remove 2 and 4, what you get is 1, 3 and 5, right? So this becomes your non-consecutive number. So the number of subset is how many then? 2 raised to 3, because 3 elements are there, correct? So this becomes 8. So this is your first type. Now for the second, if we remove 1, 3 and 4 from here, so what I'm gonna get is 2 and 5. Again, this is non-consecutive number. So how many subset I'm having over here? 2 raised to 2, that is 4. So the probability that S does not have two consecutive elements will be then finally given as 2 raised to 3 plus 2 raised to 2 divided by 31. That is your 8 plus 4 by 31. That is nothing but your 12 by 31. So what is the option here? The answer is 12. Sorry, the answer is D, 12 by 31. So go through once again to understand how we have solved this thing. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following figures represents the correct sequence of phases in adult eukaryotic cell cycle? So this is very simple actually, as there is nothing to remember over here. So we know that G1 corresponds to the gap phase, S corresponds to the synthesis phase, where during which the DNA gets replicated. G2 phase is it is required in order to make the machinery ready for the preparation for the mitosis to take place, and then M phase is there, which is mitosis. It corresponds to the separation of daughter chromosomes, and usually it will be followed by the cytokinesis. That is, 2 daughter cells you will get. Now, in order to do this thing, you should know that first G1 comes, that is the first gap phase, which is followed by the synthesis. And then G2, a checkpoint comes in order to see whether the cell is ready to undergo mitosis or not. So after synthesis, it is the G2, and then after G2, the mitosis. So from all the options, if we see, the answer is B over here. Okay. So next question. At what pH does polyglutamate in an aqueous solution form alpha helical structure? So for this, we know that glutamate is actually an acidic amino acid, right? So at lower pH, it is going to be neutral. So in this case, polyglutamate, it means it is a polypeptide made up of only glutamate amino acid residues, and it forms an alpha helical structure. So the pH, let us say it is around pH 3. Now so in this case, the polyglutamate is going to be correctly folded and all the side chains are going to be neutral, as I mentioned before. Okay. Now when the pH is increased from 3 to 7, what is happening? There is a loss of H plus ions, right? So what is happening at that time? So when the pH is raised to 7 or more than 7, the charge on the adjacent groups of its residues in the alpha helix will start repulsion in the at higher pH. So what will happen because of this repulsion? The alpha helix will start becoming they will become destabilized and it will get unfolded. So if we ask, so from this we understand that at pH 3 it is going to form a alpha helical structure. So always remember, it is a glutamate, it is a acidic amino acid. So obviously at lower pH it is going to be stable, and in increase pH it is going to become unstable. Okay, so moving on to the next question. The dimensions of coefficient of viscosity are dash. So for this we should know that coefficient of viscosity is given as stress upon strain. Okay, so we know that what are the unit? It is, so unit is pressure upon time inverse. So totally what will be the dimension? ml minus 1 t raised to minus 2 by t raised to minus 1. So finally what we get is this. So if you know the units of these stress and strain, then it becomes very easy to calculate the dimensions of coefficient of viscosity. So hence answer is A. Moving on to the next question. Match the entries in group 1 with the entries in the group 2. So for this, we know that what are these? Nylon, rubber, starch and myoglobin. So it is very simple to do actually. Myoglobin is a protein. So if you see the options over here, it should go to amino acids. Okay. So this is your S. So let's see how many are there. So either it is S3 means you have got the option A and you have got the option D. You can cancel B and C. Now let's go to the next. Starch. So what is starch actually? It is nothing but the hexose. How? It is the 6-carbon sugar. So now I need to see R2. So I have got R2 over here, but R1 here. So I know that isoprene comes for the rubber. So what is left? Nylon for the adipic acid. So from this, I know that option A is the correct answer. Next question. The technique that involves impacting samples with electron is dash. So if you know the full form of these spectroscopy and spectrometry, then it becomes very easy, the answer. So the first option is NMR, that is nuclear magnetic resonance. It is nuclear magnetic resonance. ESI is electron ray ionization. IR is infrared. UV is ultraviolet. Sorry, it is ultraviolet. Now, if you see the name over here, from the name itself, it's very clear that ESI, where the samples are impacted with the electrons, the answer is electron spray ionization. So answer is B. So even if you don't know the principle and the working behind the spectroscopy and spectrometry, if you still at least know the full form, then also you can solve the question. So last question for this today's session. The orbital angular momentum of hydrogen atom in the ground state is dash. So we know that the angular momentum is given as, by the formula, it is represented by L. It is given as L by L plus 1 H by 2 pi under root. So this is how the angular momentum is given. Now here the L is the angular momentum represented as by the L subshell. So for 0 for S, we know the subshell. 1 is for P, 2 is for D, and then 3 is for F subshell, right? So the angular momentum of hydrogen atom in the ground state, it means that electrons of hydrogen atom are present in the S subshell, right? This is this one. So which can be calculated as, so I know that now L is 0 in the case of hydrogen. So 0 by 0 plus 1 H by 2 pi. So finally what I get, since it is 0, everything becomes 0. So here the answer is the angular momentum of hydrogen atom in the ground state is going to be A, that is 0. So that's all for today, and we'll be doing the next series in the next. So thank you for listening. I hope you like the video. So please share and subscribe, and share with your friend circle also. So let's study together for the upcoming exams. Any comments and suggestions are also appreciated, and any queries are there will be solved quickly. You can also write to us on Excelsior Academy 1228@gmail.com. Keep watching, keep excelling with us. Thank you.